Welcome to the Fourth Man Podcast. We got somebody other than Michael here. This is Brother B. He is mine and Michael's pastor, friend, mentor. I actually surrendered under his pastoralship back in 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Okay. Hey, this is, I feel honored to be in Michael's chair.
Hey, you got big shoes to
I
fill,
got
literally.
big shoes to fill. Hey, I'm so proud of you guys, man. I've enjoyed listening to the Fourth Man Podcast. It's so good to hear you guys' thoughts, insight. So, hey, thanks for letting me be a part today.
Hey, we appreciate it. So tell the people just a little bit about you, kind of how you got started, your journey, where you're at now, things along that line.
Let's see. I guess maybe the place to start was just my time in ministry. So January of 1999, that's a long time ago now, was a public announcement of a call to preach. And then the first pastorate in 2001 at Pleasant Hill Baptist Church in Saucier. And anyway, lots of time at Campground Baptist Church up on Highway 53. Almost, 13, 14 years. Janice and I spent a couple years in Corinth at Farmington Baptist Church. And then in 2000, God opened the door for us to come back to the coast and plant Harvest Church. Always was just kind of a dream of mine to be part of a church plant, to have the opportunity just to kind of start from scratch. And so conversations happened, and we just felt the need, felt the opportunity that God was giving us to come back and to do that. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great journey so far. We are about to celebrate 3 years. So September 6, 2020 was our first public service, and that was an incredible day. Lots of planning. Well, you know about the planning process and just getting things ready to welcome the community. And then we met in September. It was an incredible month, and then everybody got COVID.
Yeah. So that was a weird time.
It was a crazy time. It was the best of times and the worst of times. So we started with great momentum, and then we went home for a month and didn't meet at all. And so we weren't sure what was going to happen after that, but people stayed connected and stayed together. And anyway, we get to celebrate 3 years. So thankful for what God has done. God has been good.
He's been real good. You can just see it through the people, It's a joy. The people are joyful, which makes church even that more exciting to go to, fun to go to. Yeah. Feels like family when you go to it, when they're joyful, But so Harvest Church started in 2020. Mm-hmm. It's now 2020. It don't seem like 3 years, man.
I say it like this. It seems like a lifetime and yesterday all at the same time. It's really crazy.
So in the thought process of Harvest, y'all met with Todd West, kind of helped navigate that. And y'all came up with like a mission statement and kind of the core bones of what Harvest is.
Right.
So what is the mission statement? And churches have different mission statements. Mm-hmm. Each church isn't meant for every person. Okay. It's meant for this group of people, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. Because God's people come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, backgrounds.
That's right.
So one church doesn't fit all. So what is the mission of Harvest, I guess?
So when we think about mission, the truth is every New Testament church has the same mission. Mm-hmm. So that's to go and to make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Spirit. Regardless of what your context is, that's always the mission given by the Master. So, but when you contextualize that, and how does that mission fit our context here on the Gulf Coast, then how do we live that out? So as we processed that thought, we kept coming back to this idea of connecting people to Jesus, but also connecting believers to one another, connecting people. So connecting the coast, that's our footprint. That's where we live. That's where the major part of our ministry will be. Certainly we are involved in other mission projects and, around the world, but for the most part, the footprint of Harvest Church is on the coast. So connecting the coast to Christ. Then how are we going to do that? How are we going to impact our city? That's 125,000 approximate daily serviceable population in a church in a time where Steve Mooneyham said to me one day, he said, Bryan, if everybody in the city of Gulfport decided to go to church on a Sunday, they would fill up every church of every kind 14 times. It's in a context where some estimate maybe 40% of the people on the coast have a connection to a local church. How can we impact that? What's the process? So we want to connect the coast to Christ, and we're going to do it one family at a time. Mm-hmm. Always, when you get right down to ministry, it's about a personal connection. Yeah. It's about one conversation. It's about one relationship that impacts another circle. And so that is how ministry happens.
A good thing, I've always liked the connecting the coast to Christ one family at a time, because it's, it says one family at a time, but it's actually multiple families at a time. Okay. Because the people, it's not just your job as a pastor to connect the coast to Christ one family at a time.
Okay, right.
So, so if I'm connecting one family, it's one family to me. But the whole congregation, is connecting families and just bringing them together. And while, I think what's good about Harvest Church is what I've seen is, we don't just rely on you to do the ministry.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a village over here. We're all in sand dunes, true, man. Just trying to get the word out there.
That's so true.
And we all take one family, one family at a time to do it.
Here's where I'm at in this journey. I've tried a lot of times to do things in my own power, to do it on my own. When it comes to this church planning deal, I'll just let the world know. God did this. Yeah. It's not certainly about my personal gifts or abilities or anything like that. It's been amazing to watch God put people together. Yeah. People with different talents and abilities, and the people that God has drawn to himself, people that are being saved, families that are being touched and being changed. It is absolutely amazing to me. And the hearts of the people to serve and to work together to accomplish the purpose. It's amazing.
We talked a couple of weeks ago, me and Michael, about serving in the church, and the cool thing about serving in a church, in a local church, is that you do build those connections to people. You do find, okay, I'm horrible at X, but so-and-so is good at Z. Let's get together and do ministry that way. And it's a more well-rounded ministry to where it's not just all on me, it's a team.
Right.
And we have that here.
Yes.
I'm not great at children's ministry. I'm not. But, we have a group of people who serve and love serving that way. Yes. And, counting money. One thing I never want to do in life is be over money. Yeah. Because especially God's money.
Okay.
It's a heavy subject. But we have people who are diligent in finances to say, hey, they can navigate and they can just do money well. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, they help us be good stewards. Yeah. And so, because of that, I think last year, even as a church plant, when all the numbers are tallied up $45,000 given in mission projects and outreaches and things like that. So, that happens as people are generous to give to the mission, to then be good stewards of that and to disperse it to advance the kingdom. Yep.
Yeah. So we've been on this journey for 3 years officially. We had some months before it was official that Harvest has been. And at the beginning, we were making it happen. COVID happened. Then, we figured out how important media was.
Yes.
How important just getting the word out on social media was. And then we got to come back and we got to navigate and we got to really learn how people kind of act, kind of interact with people. And we learn how we can best serve or better serve people, in the way the church is set up, in the way the service is set up, in the way that small groups, and it's cool to see the process of when we first started to now and how, the wisdom of different people who's come along with us and, spoke wisdom and spoke encouragement to get us to where we are, and we've grown.
Yeah. I've been a pastor for a long time, since 2001. So you do the math.
Yeah.
But a church plant is a different kind of animal all in itself. It's so much fun because of the freedom and, the ease of being able to change things really quickly and adapt to what's going on. And to be really honest, that's exactly what was necessary in the beginning because things were so fluid. Yeah. We didn't know, from week to week, hey, are we going to be able to meet or, how are we going to minister to one another? How is family going to be built? How is that going to work? And so we learned a lot in this process.
Yeah. It's cool because, church isn't perfect because you got people in it. Yeah.
True.
And it's cool how you see some things where it's like, that can be done better, it should be done this way, or hey, how about we try it this way just to see if it takes hold, right. And we've done that in some areas, and it took hold. But so we've been, 2020, now 2023, kind of, I don't want to say we're carbon footprint by any means, but, we've kind of got a system, I guess, in place and that we operate around that's been working, so typically, we'll have the worship praise band and, we'll have a little word at the beginning, then back.
Great, by the way.
Yeah. So Michael's been doing good at that. He's been getting comfortable up there and then, you come up and preach, or if you're not there, I'll come up, or, we have special guests coming. And that's been working really well. But what I've seen growth in from just my time in church, because I started going to church in 2014, I think, 2015. It was my senior year of high school. Okay. Wasn't really in church that much, major holidays, But one thing I always saw was on Wednesday nights, there wasn't a lot of participation. Okay. It was pretty much a Sunday only, but here, and it's cool because we've kind of implemented the early church, how they went to people's homes. And we've done small groups that way, where it's a small group of people who meet. Now, we meet collectively Wednesdays, but we break up into smaller groups, and I think that has had a lot of success.
That's been fantastic.
Because it's not only they don't just get your point of view on a Wednesday, but it also gives other people a chance to teach and lead.
That's really been unique. Mm-hmm. So I'm used to being the guy on the platform with the monologue, and that's profitable to a point. Yeah. And so we do that on Sunday. Preaching is part of God's plan. Mm-hmm. But to watch people get into groups, meet new people that they didn't know before, interact and talk about a particular passage of Scripture, everybody's learning. Mm-hmm. And each person has thoughts and input, and it's been really life-giving. I mean, it's been fun. Yeah.
A lot of people's been putting in inputs, and, it's cool because I work with the youth with Kevin, and, we do the same model. It's not just, me up there speaking or Kevin up there speaking, but we break the teenagers into smaller groups, and we give them the opportunity to lead, to have, I don't want to say ownership, but have, what's the word I'm looking for? Have the, I guess I can say ownership of.
Yeah, I mean, they're learning how to lead a discussion. I mean, they're understanding that their thoughts have value. There's a place for me to discuss things that maybe I don't necessarily understand. Yeah. It's healthy, man.
Yeah, it's been real good. So we talked about where we're at now. What's kind of the future plans as sort as what do you want to see? What do you see happening inside of Harvest?
Let's just say, there are certain things in my own heart and mind that I'm preparing myself for. We just had the conversation before we got on the air about a need to create space to make room for people. The reality is, hey, we have a small campus, and it's, very limited to how many people can be housed at, or worship at the same time and that kind of thing. And so with that in mind, with at capacity twice on Sunday already, then how do we begin to talk about creating more space, adding another time, give people another option to come and worship so that there's space. And so this September, we will begin to add a Saturday night worship. We'll introduce that maybe once a month, and then in January, open that as a full-time part of our weekend schedule, just to make room. I mean, as we connect families to Christ and to one another, then that's exponential growth. And while we have building plans that are being talked through and different things like that, just in the short term, and it's there again, it's not so that Harvest is this, the biggest church on the coast. We're not about that kind of stuff, but as families come, do we have adequate room for their kids, and can we minister well? Can we love people well and create space? So those are some of the things that I think about. Small group ministry, is vital to how we relate to one another and grow together relationally, but also spiritually, and creating more opportunities for that to happen across our city, in homes and in different venues, whether that's at Barnes & Noble or at the restaurant or in the homes. So, doing our best to make sure that there's adequate.
You have to make preparations for God to work. You can't just sit on your hands and expect God to move while you're doing nothing.
Yes. Hey, we've learned that well. Part of what 2020 was for us, it was planning, it was preparation, it was praying through certain issues. It was, trying our best to build some organization that would give health to a faith community that came together. One of the things that Todd said while he was here that really resonated with me was organization brings unity. So where there's just chaos and where there's no plan, and as the proverb says, where there's no vision, the people perish. Well, that's kind of what it is. It's just a chaos. Well, there's no real direction. To see organization really become a strong structure where people thrive and they're growing in their faith. That's really the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I think churches sometimes has, in the eyes of the public, have one set of view as far as the pastor just preaches. They don't really see what goes into, running a local church and running ministries and all that. And the longer or the more I get into ministry and things like that, I see, man, it takes people.
It takes a lot of people.
It takes people to do God's will right.
You know, Shug, part of this journey is as a follower of Jesus. He built us to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the body of Christ, man, as people are serving in their lane and using their gifts to serve others. I mean, Jesus said of himself, I didn't come to be served, but to serve. Mm-hmm. And so as we think about that individually, and, you know, we find satisfaction and fulfillment and joy as we're serving the Lord by serving each other in community, and I don't know, creating lots of space for people to do that.
Yeah. And it's cool to see, like, you know, we always like to see the fruits of our labor. You know, that's always an encouragement. And we're seeing some of it now, you know, like we're at capacity in both services, having to do a third service. You know, we're also, our youth is amazing.
Yes, it is.
You know, all the kids that are driving themselves.
Yeah.
They could be anywhere else, but they're coming here.
Yeah, they're hungry, man. They
just to
love
learn.
Yes.
You know,
So
and then
encouraging.
we have, which is Michael's brother, Chris. He's serving a year-long program in North Carolina,
Right.
serving under some people at a youth camp, just willing to serve, wanting to serve. You know, and then we had a little going-away party for another youth,
Yeah,
you know, Alyssa Spears, who's going to Cambodia and Thailand for 3 months.
Right.
You know,
Excited for her.
it's like, man, God's doing amazing things when you're just obedient to his calling, when you're willing to do his calling and serve.
Yeah. Jeremy and I, as we were just riding up the road today, you know, we talked about just the key of walking in obedience, even in the hardness.
Yeah.
You know, Lord, I'm going to be obedient. I'm just going to be faithful. Just going to be obedient to what you called me to do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be obedient to what you say. Yeah. And just walking that out. God always blesses obedience. Mm-hmm. And it's good at this season to just kind of see. Mm-hmm. You're right, to see some fruits of that.
Yeah. And we actually talked last Sunday, which is going to be posted tomorrow. I have to do this recording, you know, we talk about spiritual highs and spiritual lows.
Okay.
But, you know, we ended up with the conclusion of, man, just be spiritually consistent.
Faithful.
You know, consistent, faithful. It's like if you're on a high, ride it as long as you can. Like read your Bible, serve, study, be in connect groups or community or whatever the case may be. But when you're in the valley, when you're going through the dogfight, stay in the Word, stay in the community, stay serving. Like have consistent and faithful views and, you know, just life. Yeah. And that's pretty cool to see here. So we've talked about kind of where harvest was, harvest is going, you know. And it's a cool thing just to look back because you can see God working. I think a lot of times we're so focused on the future that we don't stop enough to look back and say, man, God was in it then.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the what's next and forget to look back and to see what God has done. It's a crazy conversation for me to go back and to think about the process of just beginning to talk about this church plant. Yes, it was a dream in my heart, and yes, it was, you know, something that had been in my heart for a long time that I never really thought that I would get an opportunity to do. But to then begin to step into that and to say publicly, you know, I think this is what the Lord is leading me to, and then to catch the darts and, you know, even to wrestle within my own spirit. Lord, is this really your plan? In fact, I prayed a crazy prayer in those days. And on this side of it, you know, it looks pretty easy, but to look back, you see, man, God's goodness and His faithfulness, and the fact that He did things that only He could do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. I mean, there's a lot of those that bring us to this place. God opened some really incredible doors, and He continues to do that. Yep.
Yeah. So I guess, man, the main message of today is, man, just get plugged into a church. You know, get plugged into a local body of believers, a Bible-believing, God-believing, you know, local body of believers, and serve. You know, if you're not serving, I believe if you're not serving, you're dying. You know, you're not growing spiritually if you're not serving, because that kind of puts what you're learning into action. You know, and if you don't put it into action, sometimes you forget.
That's true.
You know, but yeah, man, we just encourage you to find that church, find a pastor to submit under, and just, man, do God's will.
Can I just kind of speak to that for a minute? Just, you know, here's the reality. God didn't create us to live on an island by ourselves. I mean, the church is about community and connection, family, and more than any other time in history, people need that. I mean, we have become isolated because of devices, you know, and so it's necessary for you to have a community that encourages you in your faith and helps push you to grow in your faith.
Yeah, it's just so important and needed. Like you said, like me and Michael are part of a small group of young adults, and just the fruitfulness and the growth that we've had just because we're in community. You know, like you don't always have to talk about the Bible to be in community.
That's right.
You know, like you can talk about life. You can have fun. You can, you know, we went putt-putting the other night and just chilled, you know, and that's some of the richest times is just being surrounded by believers, you know. But, yeah, you got a message for the world, for the people who listen, kind of as a final off?
Oh, what can I say? Love God, love people. Serve God by serving people. Obey God by reaching people. Glorify God by guiding people. That's our core values. So love well, serve well. I think that's it.
Thank you for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been fun. We're gonna have to get you back on here when Michael's available.
Well, hey, that's some big shoes to fill. I love to hear his voice. Got that deep voice.
You got it, man.
That's good. Very good.
But you can tell you the pastor because you're more elegant than me and Michael both,
Oh,
man. It's funny, but hey, we all serve different purposes in the world.
I wouldn't want to do this without you guys, man. I so appreciate all that y'all do. This podcast and all this media stuff. Shug is the mastermind, and I don't know. I'm really impressed by what you guys are doing. So
we appreciate it.
Yeah,
we do. So thank you for listening. So we'll catch you Monday.
Peace.
Deuces. We gone.
Yes.
It's done.
See ya.